Snorting my drugs, even though I'm blowing my nose, but I'm snorting my drugs. So just so you know. So talking about the San Bernardino shooting and how crazy this narrative is. Um, go watch 99 Subs Aren't Real, part 99, part 1, to hear the first part about it. Um, I mean, this is just one of the craziest. There's a reason why when I say San Bernardino shooting, you don't have any recollection of it. There was a guy on here the other day that said he was just down the road from San Bernardino and had no idea what I was talking about. This was the deadliest. Let's see, what did it say? This was the deadliest mass shooting in the U.S. since 2012 Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting. Karen, what's going on? I guarantee you don't remember this. You were not here. The deadliest terrorist attack to occur in the U.S. since September 11th attacks, and the deadliest mass shooting in California since 1984 San Ysidro McDonald's massacre. It was only surpassed by the Orlando nightclub shooting in 2016. And I would assume the Las Vegas shooting, but I guess they want to leave that one out. So I guess I got to read it all again. So we'll start with before the attack. Farouk and Malik left their 6-year-old daughter with Farouk's mother at their Redlands home the morning of the attack, saying they were going to a doctor's appointment. Farouk, a health inspector for the San Bernardino County Department of Public Health, attended a departmental event at a banquet room of the Inland Regional Center. You guys, this is easily one of the flimsiest narratives that they've ever given us. This is just such a crazy story to me. It's so just unreal that this is what they present us, and we're supposed to be like, thank you, can I have another? Like, we're not supposed to ask questions. We're supposed to take all this in like there's nothing wrong with it. Like, what they're saying makes all the sense. And if you're a bot or you're a dumbass, I get it. Like, you're not going to, like, it's the part that it's so confusing to me because, immediately there's always people on here that are just mad at me for talking. And you have to ask yourself, like, how does that make sense? Within 3 minutes, I already have a troll here and he's mad and I should stop talking about the San Bernardino shooting. Like, why would he have any sort of negative feelings about that in the slightest? And to me, logistics is always a huge part of the situation that often gets overlooked, and motivation is a big part of the logistics. So to think, like, what's motivating this doofus to be like, I'm gonna talk, like, 3 minutes in, that's how important I am. Why do you think they fake shooting and plan crashes? Control. What do you think all of it's for? I mean, partially control. The thing that we never actually know, like, I don't know who was killed in the San Bernardino attack. I don't know what advancements they were trying to make, like, eventually it'll come out that somebody that was, on the verge of come up with a breakthrough as far as, some sort of development or something like that, that person was killed. And when that person was killed, the government came in and took all their files and like that's the shit that you end up finding out happens more often than not. So when you hear about these random shootings like this, one of the big questions is who did it, and it's one of the big questions that's never answered. So yeah, I don't know what you I can't claim to know the motivations for the system other than control. I have ideas, but I don't know it. All I can talk about is what happens. I like that's the key to this that so many people get away from, and they end up putting like feelings and all that shit in place instead of I credit Dr. Judy Wood to this sort of philosophy I have when attacking this stuff. And Dr. Judy Wood is somebody who, if she was a man, she'd be world famous. But she's one of the most brilliant 9/11 researchers that's ever, come forth. And she her job title was forensic archaeologist. And what her job was to go to building collapses and figure out what happened. And she said something that she learned a long time ago was that you can't go into something listening to what everybody else has to say beforehand. She says, when I would get to a building collapse, I wouldn't talk to anybody. I wouldn't want anybody's opinions on any of it. I didn't want to know what other people thought happened or what they had, figured out or anything like that. I wanted to go to the scene and let the scene tell me what happened. And so that's what we should all do. We should all be investigating things like that. I had to look for you being on, looked earlier, couldn't find you anywhere. Why do you think that is? A couple of months ago, Karen, I had 20,000. I was averaging over 10,000 views. Some days it was 8,000, some days it was 12,000, 15,000. Then the Trump people took over, and I told you this would happen, and almost immediately, everything changed. That's not how social media works. You don't build yourself up to this point where you're getting views that someone in your position shouldn't get. Views that big name people aren't getting. And then suddenly that just goes away. Suddenly it's just, it's just impossible to find me. That's not how it works. That's not the American dream, social media, blah, blah, blah. It's not what happens. And it's not like I can sit here and I try to be consistent in the time, but the kids are out of school, so that changes. But it's not like I can tell everybody, hey, I'm live, come join me. That's why I need you guys. That's where you guys like, sharing, and subbing makes a big difference. Although it did used to seem like the more likes I would get on my video, the less views I would have. Once I'd get up to like 25 likes, it would be like, why do I have 25 likes and 5 viewers? And we're talking about somebody that was getting 400, 500 viewers at a time. Suddenly that just falls off. Talking about the same things, and the world, like, I'm the one that's been talking about it. The world, everybody was telling me, what are you talking about? And I'd say, just wait, just watch. The world is going to adapt to what I'm saying. And that's literally what's happened. I've looked like a fucking prophet, even though I'm not saying it's anything fucking supernatural. It's just looking at the patterns, looking at what they're literally telling us. But, of course, I saw, dude, I thought you were past this, though. Of course, but I told you, once we started getting up to 20,000, that seems to be the number that pisses them off, 20, 25,000. Once that happens, it's what they did with Facebook. Once I started getting up close and the feed was steadily climbing, that's when they shut it down. But this is all little picture shit. I mean, it is big picture shit. It's the only reason I talk about it. Not because of my own personal wham or me, but the look, just like it's the evidence. other than reading you what they want us to read, and other than, you know, going live and talk, I don't really know what else I can do. But when I go live and you see the comments and you see what's happening and you see what gets done, like, this is all evidence.
I know ratings.
This is all proof. Sweet. This is all proof that there's something else going on. And it's up, you know, are you just sitting here acting like the only way you're going to believe it is if...
Oh, Dad, the worst teammate
You are the best. You must be the best. Have a great day.
Dad, the worst teammate in the game is Jax. He hurts you.
Well, that's not cool. Did you tell him I said stop it? You tell Jax I said knock it off, okay?
Okay, 1 second. I'm about to... No, I can't be on this side to do it. I don't know it on this side.
Oh my God, you're so lame. Look at this lame kid. He can't even do a fatality.
Look, see? Jax just hit her. I did it. Boom.
That's stupid. Come on. Why they gotta make it stupid?
Raiden.
Ah, that was lame.
Still?
Oh yeah, the girls is way better. And Raiden's was cool, but then he jumped up through the guy, and come on, that's just gross. Why would you ever do that?
No blood is on him at all.
Right. How's that even possible?
Bam. Bop. Boom.
Hey! You gave us dumbasses mail, and I'm not putting it in his shit. I should just throw this shit away. Fuck this guy, but I'm not that person.
Don't do that.
I know, I won't. I don't want you getting in trouble. This is Bill, isn't it? No. Well, fuck him anyway. It's cold out here. My wife just went out for a quickie with somebody. Hope she made some money this time.
That was pretty. Oh shit! We get my phone.
I also know Smoker.
His name isn't Smoker.
No. Sorry, I keep on thinking One Piece when I'm here.
Where's Mom's phone?
Where
Where is it?
I don't know.
You're an idiot. Right, right. I'm just a girl.
I looked down and it was in the crook of my.
I'm just a girl in the world. That's all that you'll let me be. So we
I'm
restarted.
gonna be really busy for the next 3 days.
Good. Farouk left at 6 p.m. saying they went to a doctor's appointment. Farouk, a health inspector, the male, for the San Bernardino Department of Public Health, attended a departmental event at the banquet room of the Inland Regional Center. The event began. You guys got to really, really pay attention to these details because this is so not believable. The event began as a semi-annual all-staff meeting and training event and was in the process of transitioning into a department holiday party / luncheon when the shooting began. There were a total of 91 invited guests with between 75 and 80 people stated to have been in attendance. Again, how do we not know? Does it need to happen right this second? Right. How do we not know exactly how many people were at this party where there was cameras, I mean, it's a fucking party. Didn't everybody that was there be like, oh my God, I was there? Or they were shot? Farouk, you gotta stop. You gotta pay attention to this. It's only gonna take 5 minutes. Farouk arrived at the departmental event at about 8:30 a.m. and left midway through at around 10:30, leaving a backpack atop a table. Co-workers reported that Farouk had been quiet during the duration of the event, and that he had been looking at his phone before his departure. He posed for photos with other co-workers. Not right now. Okay, so that's it. At 10:30 he leaves, and he leaves a backpack which we find out has a bomb in it on the table.
What event are you?
San Bernardino shooting.
Okay.
He left a backpack on the fucking table with the bomb in it.
And no one saw this.
And everybody was like, oh, that's Farouk's backpack. He'll probably be back, so let's not pick this thing up and take it to the front desk. Let's just leave it in the middle of the table right where it is.
I mean, if somebody...
They didn't know he was coming back. They didn't know what was going on. He just left. Shortly before 11 a.m., the event went on an unscheduled break due to a technical problem. At 10:58 a.m., Farouk and Malik, armed with semi-automatic pistols and rifles, opened fire outside the building, killing 2 people. So just before the shooting began, there was an unscheduled technical break. What a crazy coincidence, huh? Farouk entered the building a minute later. Okay, so we're saying it took a minute for him to even get inside the building once he had already shot the first 2 people. Okay, a minute later, he enters the building, firing on those in attendance. He was followed quickly by Malik. They wore ski masks and black tactical gear, including load-bearing vests holding magazines and ammunition, but not ballistic or bulletproof vests. Again, why would they even be wearing masks? The entire shooting took 2 or 3 minutes, during which the shooters fired more than 100 bullets before fleeing. 100 bullets in 2 to 3 minutes. It took a minute for him to get in. So that means in 2 minutes, he basically fired they fired a little over 100 bullets, fired more than 100 bullets. Who knows? That could be 150 bullets. We don't know. That's basically a bullet per second. For 2 minutes. During the shooting, many of those in attendance managed to escape the room and flee deeper into the building, while those who remained hid underneath tables or in bathrooms, closets, and cupboards. A bullet hit a fire sprinkler pipe, causing water to pour down on the banquet room, making it difficult to see. So now there's water. This is all happening in 2 minutes. Walking around, looking, walking around.
They were probably...
No, they were going in between tables, looking and shooting people. Oh, well, here. The perpetrators moved between tables, shooting anyone who moved or made a sound. So it's a big banquet room. They're going in between the tables, looking around, shooting at people that move or make sound. This is all happening within 2 minutes. Gets better. One person was struck by a bullet that tore through an interior wall, while another was shot while trying to escape through a glass door near where the shooters had entered. 3 men attempted to stop one of the shooters, but all were shot. It is unclear. It was unclear if any of them survived. How? How do we not know who was doing what at what time? One victim was killed while shielding a coworker with his body. Some initially mistook the attack as an active shooter drill. Some previous such drills had taken place in the same banquet room. What are these active shooter drills like? Do they have somebody coming in with guns, fake guns, and shooting? And I mean, do you know what a liability that would be?
I don't know. Ask our kids in the schools that are having them.
It's nothing. They say, oh, there's an active shooter. Everybody go. This is what we would do. They don't have an actor there running around, lighting off flashbangs and shooting off shit. And do you know how many heart attacks you could potentially cause Do you know what a liability that would be for any company, for people who maybe got scared and jumped out a window, or, you know, you couldn't do that. That's not a legitimate thing. What kind of active shooter drills are these guys doing that mimics 100+ bullets being fired in 2 minutes that people couldn't tell the difference? It's just bullshit. It's just bullshit stacked on top of bullshit. They're trying to fit in as much of the bullshit to cover up. Oh yeah, well, because they've had drills. That's why people reacted the way, because they've had.
What, baby?
No, dude, I'll be down in a minute, okay?
Sorry, Dad, but.
But it's not like we have this thing and you could show me anytime you want it.
This is the last guy, I promise. Slice off one arm, slice off the other. Better or worse? The girls is still the best?
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Freezing here still also. Yeah, it's fucking cold. Nothing to be. That's what the earth does. Okay. Some previous such drills had taken place in the same banquet room, thankfully. Whew. An unidentified source told an NPR journalist that witnesses appeared to recognize Farouk by his voice and build. He was so recognizable by his voice and build. No, it couldn't have been anybody else. And listen to how this is worded. Other witnesses easily identified one of the shooters as a female because of her slight build and tight-fitting clothes. Why isn't it the other shooter as a female? They're making it sound like there's more than two. Sources reported that Malik... Now, this is the best part. It took a minute to get in, so now we have 2 minutes between when the shooting took place and them escaping. They've walked through the entire banquet room, going through tables, table after table, shooting anyone that moves or makes a sound. They've also hit a pipe, so it's sprinkling water down everywhere, making it difficult to see. Sources report that Malik pledged bay'ah allegiance to Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the leader of the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, ISIL, on a Facebook account associated with her as the attack was underway. Later reports described the posting as being made on behalf of both shooters. So not only did it take them a minute to get through, they're having to walk through all the tables shooting everybody. They've hit a sprinkler and it's pouring down water everywhere. They're stopping to post on Facebook.
Maybe they had pre-programmed posts that you could do the auto post at certain times.
No, it was happening. She posted to the account as the attack was underway. They stopped like. The perpetuators left 3 explosive devices connected to one another.
The perpetuators.
Right. They were calling them actors forever.
I like the perpetuators.
At
like a super team.
At the Inland Regional Center, contained inside the backpack left by Farouk during the departmental event.
Perpetuators.
The devices were described as pipe bombs constructed with Christmas lights and tied together, combined with a remote control car that was switched on. So there was a remote control car switched on. So this bag that he had was making noise. He left it on the table after looking all sullen in Arabic. And he leaves a bag sitting on a table that's making a whirring sound because there's a remote control car inside. Gotcha. Okay. The poorly constructed devices failed to explode, of course. Isn't it funny how like the Batman shooter guy supposedly rigged his whole house with all these explosives meant to fuck with the first responders and shit, and yet after doing the shooting, he went out and sat in front of his car, waiting for police to get there, and then told them all about the booby traps? What's the point of that? Not even under the table. No, 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 no. Authorities believe that the pipe bombs were meant to target the emergency personnel responding to the scene as always. I mean, it's the same fucking narrative. They were meant to, they did this, they were meant to do that, but they didn't, they failed, and it's always the same shit. And you see it in movies and shit too. But in the movies, it always works. The devices were hidden inside a canvas bag, and its build was similar to schematics published in Al Qaeda's Inspire magazine. They learned how to build their bomb from the Al Qaeda magazine. Co-workers noticed the bag before the attack occurred, but thought Farouk would return for it, and therefore did not investigate it. They knew that was Farouk's bag. All 85 people that were there, between 75 and 80 people that were there, all knew it was Farouk's bag. All thought he was just going to return. Not any of them got curious. Not any of them heard the whirring noise. Nothing. They just, gotcha. Can I? Okay, so it gets better, right? It took 3 minutes and 22 seconds for the first police unit to respond to the shooting following the initial 911 call. 2 police officers with the San Bernardino Police Department arrived almost simultaneously at 11:04 a.m. The first shots were fired at 10:58, and it took him a minute to get inside. The cops were there by 11:04.
Okay.
And they escaped. When 2 other SBPD officers arrived 2 minutes later, the 4 officers entered the building through the southeast side and began to search for shooters. Another team of 4 officers, one from SBPD and others from the Fontana Police Department, man, they are just...
Okay, so maybe.
Okay, maybe.
Just...
Well, there happened to be a huge police training event happening in the area at the same day. So there was tons of cops in the area.
But if there was also mass panic of people like running around and fleeing, and they, tore their shit off real fast and blended in with the crowd and got out, then they would be, considered victims, mistaken for victims.
I think we're just overestimating how fucking long, 4 minutes is?
I mean,
4 or 5 minutes?
If the time frame is accurate.
Okay, well, we're talking... Well, no, the time frame is accurate. There's CCTV. We're going off of what they're telling us. You can't say, I'm saying, this is the narrative. So based on the narrative that you are supposed to know, you're not supposed to interpret, you're not supposed to question, you're not supposed to think maybe the time frame is off. They gave us this specific narrative. You have to go with this narrative. Just because it doesn't make sense doesn't mean you get to just keep going. You just get to overlook that shit or change it to fit your narrative so it works. No. Go with what they're telling you and see how much that shit makes sense. Another team of 4 entered the building from the northern side and joined the first team in clearing all the first floor rooms. Now, again, this is... Have you ever had to deal with police?
Unfortunately.
Is the response anything like this? At 11:14, now this is 10 minutes later, the San Bernardino Fire Department made a Twitter post about an emergency on the 1300 block of Waterman Avenue, with the police working to clear the scene. Fuck does that have to do with it? Roads in the area were closed to traffic. The San Bernardino SWAT team happened to be conducting its monthly training exercise a few miles away from the scene at the time of the attack, which allowed them to arrive at the scene within 11 minutes. What a shitty day to pick to do your attack, huh? And yet the best part is, despite all of this, they escaped. They were recognized by their build and their voices. The San Bernardino police used a battering ram to get into the complex. I thought they were already in. The first floor was cleared by 11:17 a.m., and a secondary sweep of the building began 14 minutes later. So, within 13 minutes, they've arrived and cleared the first floor of this building.
Yes.
This is a regional health, mental health, like this is a big center that had its own banquet hall. Okay. As officers searched for shooters inside the building, others aided the wounded. Probation officers initially set up listen to this part. Probation officers initially set up a makeshift triage center near the entrance of the building, but deemed it to be too close and relocated it across the street by 11:15 a.m.
Okay.
Within 15 minutes of the initial bullets being fired, they had already set up one triage center, broke it down, and then set it up again across the street.
Fast.
When have you ever seen anything work like that? They had to get there.
Sure.
I would love to see the team that they have on that can set up a triage center, break it down, and carry it across the street, and set it up again. I would love to see that, like to know that my taxpayer dollars are going into such amazingly trained response. That would be so fucking cool. Why don't they ever show us that shit? Why is it this is the only time I've ever heard of them operating so unbelievably efficiently? You always hear about some sort of bullshit some way or another. Because survivors were soaked from water pouring from the fire sprinkler pipe, they became slippery for officers to hold. Injured victims were carried out on blankets and chairs as litters and tactical stretchers were available at the time. Litters must be a thing that they use. Litters. It's even blue. Hold this right here.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that was my finger. That was my finger. I don't know. I always find it very difficult to believe the actual account of anything because, you know, I've
Can
seen
you
it.
use your phone?
For what?
He needs to look something up real quick.
So, because I've seen it too many times where, like, I see the report on, you know, breaking news of something happening, and then, you know, you go back and you see the story later on, and it's not anything like the first story that came out. And you're like, well, what the fuck? What happened to the breaking news?
I still want to know what happened to the Mason guy. Right? There was the old school like Freemason guy that had the Freemason hat, had the sunglasses on. He seriously looked like a cartoon, like a South Park character. He had the round face. He looked like Cartman as an adult cop. I want to know what the hell happened to him. You know, where his story went. An SBPD tactical medical supervised the extraction operation. It took 57 minutes to get the last of the injured to a hospital. That's just amazing.
That's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
That's not how things work. Ever. Ever. Ultimately, about 300 officers and agents from the city, county, and state and federal agencies responded to the active shooter event, converging on the scene as people were being evacuated. 300 of the best, and these guys slipped through. The FBI, the ATF. Dude, what are you being so weird for? Good God. The FBI, the ATF, the Los Angeles Police Department Counterterrorism Unit were called in to assist. Police were on the lookout for a black SUV used by the perpetrators to flee the scene. The stolen black SUV whose headlights flashed back and forth. At 5:08 p.m., the explosive devices planted by Farouk were discovered by an FBI SWAT officer. Are we saying that this took place at 11 a.m. and that the bomb sat on the table for 6 hours? They were able to do everything else so efficiently, but the bomb sat on the table undiscovered for 6 hours. How could that make sense to you? They were later detonated individually by a bomb squad, with the last detonation occurring at 8:37 p.m. Earlier, at 11:31 a.m., an abandoned roller luggage bag was found in a second-floor office and mistaken for a suspicious device, but was deemed safe by 2:22 p.m. So wait. People knew it was Farouk that did the shooting. People knew his bag was sitting on the counter or on the table. And yet, somehow, they discovered a different piece of luggage on a different floor that had all their concern and was cleared before the known bag of the shooter. Are we? That? Why? What are we doing here?
How did we get here?
This is stupid. The Inland Regional Center was declared clear by authorities at 9:29 p.m. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security sent a Pilatus PC-12 surveillance aircraft to the area, which circled the skies above San Bernardino for hours, mainly in the area where the shooting took place and in the areas under investigation by police. The department and departed after the shootout between the perpetrators and the police. What? The Department of Homeland Security sent a surveillance aircraft to the area to circle the sky of San Bernardino for many hours. And departed after the shootout between the perpetrators and the police. Gotcha, later on in the day. So then there should be all sorts of surveillance plane footage that can zoom down on a nickel sitting on a fucking table, right?
How do you know there isn't? Did you see it?
Well, I'm just saying there should be. Why hasn't it been released? Why hasn't the proof?
Why would they tell you?
They're telling us. So if they're telling us,
Not in our faces, not for,
no, they're telling us right here. It says it right here.
I get it, but it's not. The average public does not read what you're reading.
So what?
So they're not going to release it in mainstream media. And
Yeah, they would.
everybody. No, they're saying, hey, it's available. We're not hiding it. But we're not putting it in people's faces.
But why wouldn't they?
Because they don't want you to know it, really.
It proves their argument. This isn't one of those things that doesn't have, a shroud of strangeness around it, and people, I'm not the only person that asks questions about it. But still, why would they put it out? Why this paragraph is put out there so you know. So why wouldn't they put the footage out? If they're going to let us know they have it, why not put it out? Why is there literally no footage of any of it? Law enforcement, and the thing is too, I mean, don't they have like satellites and shit that are always looking at everything? Shouldn't there have been just satellite footage of everything? Well, how come there's not satellite footage of everything? They've been telling us they had satellites for a really long time. And those satellites could take some amazing footage for a really long time. Enemy of the state kind of shit. Why don't they fucking... Why don't they tell us this shit? Why don't they prove the shit to us? It's all just silly. Law enforcement began a search for the suspects. A witness gave Farouk's name to police, who quickly learned that he had rented a black Ford Expedition EL SUV with Utah license plates 4 days before the attack. Based on information provided by one of Farouk's neighbors, 2 plainclothes investigators went to the perpetrator's Redlands home on North Center Street for surveillance shortly before 3 p.m. About 4 hours after the initial attack at the regional center had begun, they spotted Farouk's vehicle leaving the residence and gave chase onto the freeway at 3:19 p.m. Officers from other agencies joined the pursuit afterward. So they never thought to go to his house? And when they just happened to go to his house, they happened to be, they sat there and watched and then saw that he left and then gave, what sense would that make? Why wouldn't they have brought the hammer down on his house right away? At least one fake explosive, a metal pipe stuffed with cloth made to resemble a pipe bomb, was thrown at police during the pursuit. That makes sense. The SUV exited the freeway on the North Tippecanoe Avenue and briefly stopped at a stoplight, where a pursuing officer observed the perpetrators putting on tactical vests and equipping themselves with rifles. What? Why does this make sense to anyone? Where's all the footage of the pursuit? How do we know that they didn't just say, there's this Arabic couple, they're leaving, they're pulling in here. Like, these people, how do we know they didn't go to the fucking doctor? How do we know that they're just not total patsies? They got killed. The SUV then continued onward onto East San Bernardino Avenue, entered a suburban area where the shooter in the back seat, identified as Malik, began firing at police through the back window at 3:08:43 p.m. Eventually, at 3:09:22 p.m., the SUV stopped at a neighborhood about 1.7 miles away from the scene of the initial attack. They had escaped. Why would they go drive that close to the fucking... Why would they be doing anything? The couple continued to exchange fire with police from inside their vehicle. Malik opened the side passenger door and shot at the first police vehicle, which was about 210 feet away from the SUV. Farouk exited the driver's front door, stood between the 2 open doors, and opened fire on the same vehicle. As more officers converged, so if there was only one vehicle, what happened to the chase that was happening? How come there was only one vehicle now suddenly? That's what I mean. This story doesn't make any sense. Why didn't they drop the hammer on the house? Why were these people, why would they have escaped the whole situation and not fled to wherever the fuck they wanted to go? Instead, just went driving through the town to within 2 miles of the initial shooting, where now the multiple police agencies that were involved in the chase, right. They're throwing fake pipe bombs. Officers from other agencies joined the pursuit shortly afterward. So they had been being chased. Wait a minute. At 3:08, they spotted Farouk's vehicle and gave chase onto the freeway at 3:08. And so Farouk was like, I'm going to go back to exactly where we were. 3:08:19 p.m. At least one fake explosive was thrown. The SUV exited the freeway on the North Tippecanoe Avenue and briefly stopped at a stoplight where pursuing officers observed the perpetrators putting on vests and equipping themselves. The SUV then continued onward onto San Bernardino Avenue and entered a suburban area where the shooter in the back seat, identified as Malik, began firing through the police window at 3:08:43. So at 3:08:19, which is 3:08 and 19 seconds, they gave chase onto the freeway. And between 3:08:19 and 3:08:43, roughly 30 seconds, they pulled off the freeway, drove into a neighborhood, stopped at a stoplight, put on tactical vests, armed themselves, and then drove to another location where, when they stopped, only one police officer was behind them, some 200 feet away. Why does this make sense to anyone? Like, this is really awkward. You understand, according to the official narrative, all like down to the seconds and shit, they're literally saying that from the time they spotted the thing and gave chase, from the first time they spotted him, he got onto the freeway. It took 30 seconds for them to drive down the freeway, get off the freeway, drive into the neighborhood, turn, stop at a stoplight, put on tactical vests, arm themselves, then drive another mile. Equipping themselves, and then they continued on to East San Bernardino Avenue and entered a suburban area. I mean, this is a lot. And this is all on video in some way, shape, or form. Not just supposedly government spy planes, but news helicopters and even civilian videos. Seriously, you can not like me all you want. Does this make any sense to you? This is what, how many of you are the believers, right? How many of you do what you're supposed to do? Right? You believe what you're supposed to believe, right? For everybody that thinks I'm the crazy conspiracy theorist and believes what they're supposed to believe and does as they're supposed to do, doesn't this make you feel weird? Don't you feel strange being forced into believing something that you know doesn't make any sense? Chubby gal, bring up a toilet paper with you, please. You got to hear this part. Eventually, at 3:09:22, which is another 30 seconds later, the SUV stopped in a neighborhood about 1.7 miles away from the scene of the initial attack. Look, I'm going to stop reading it right now because I'm going to wait for my wife to get back here. But this is... What... Again, what are you hearing? What am I missing that you guys are hearing that makes you go, fuck yeah, government doesn't lie? Obviously telling us the truth about this. Jesus. My bow. Oh my God. That's fucking terrible. I wonder how much they had to pay for that. Those guys are dead, I would assume. They were old guys when they made that song. Come on, lady. Killing me, Smalls. God damn it. It's all just take this. You get migraines? No. Take this MyBo. Take this Botox. Take this. That's all the commercials are. Just let us get our shit inside you. Come on. Just let us in. Let us in. You're kidding me. You're fucking kidding me. What is going on, Ski? What? Oh. I mean, that's nasty, but I know. Happens at least once a week. You shouldn't even make those jokes. You know you're destined for that, right? It don't make no sense. Exactly. I got a catchphrase. Are you having a laugh? Is he having a laugh? Are you having a laugh? Is he having a laugh? Oh my God, shitty ass. You can hear from there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I can't.
Why? They spotted Farouk's vehicle leaving the residence and began chase onto the freeway at 3:08:19 seconds p.m. Pay attention. Officers from other agencies joined the pursuit shortly afterward. At least one fake explosive, a metal pipe stuffed with cloth made to resemble a pipe bomb, was thrown at police during the pursuit. The SUV exited the freeway onto North Tippecanoe Avenue and briefly stopped at a light where a pursuing officer observed the perpetrators putting on tactical vests and equipping themselves with rifles. The SUV then continued onward onto East San Bernardino Avenue and entered a suburban area where the shooter in the back seat, identified as Malik, began firing at police through the back window at 3:08:43 p.m. Roughly 25 seconds later, I mean, that's they spot them, they give chase, They throw a fake pipe bomb. They get off the freeway and stop at a stoplight where they're not surrounded, I guess, where they sit and put on tactical gear and arm themselves, then take another turn and drive into another neighborhood, all within 25 seconds. Eventually at 3:09:22 seconds, which is about 40 seconds later, the SUV stopped in a neighborhood about 1.7 miles away from the initial scene. The couple continued to exchange fire with the police from inside their vehicle. Malik opened the side passenger door and shot at the first police vehicle, which was about 210 feet away from the SUV. So, what happened to the pursuing officers?
Good question.
It almost sounds like these people had no idea what was happening, and then suddenly the police shot at them.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
Because there's where's all the footage? Where's the government plane spy footage? Where's the news choppers and everything that has footage supposedly of all this chase and this shootout taking place?
Right.
And then there's only one cop that shows up 210 feet away? How does that even work?
Very good question.
As more officers I'm not a detective. Think about that. I'm just some dumbass reading the fucking Wikipedia.
You fed the dogs breakfast, right?
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah, you did.
As more officers converged, Farouk walked across the street towards some homes while continuing to fire, pinning officers behind their squad cars. He intended to flank the sheriff's deputy who had first stopped. Realizing this, several officers repositioned themselves and focused their gunfire on Farouk. One police officer eventually shot Farouk in the right side, allowing others to flank and shoot at him. Farouk fell to the ground, shot several times in the legs and upper body. He fired at police once with a handgun as he lay wounded on the ground, injuring an officer before the gun malfunctioned. Farouk was shot again several times and killed. His body was handcuffed and positioned to lie face down afterward. Did you hear that? Chubby girl, you gotta listen. As more officers converged, Farouk walked across the street towards some homes while continuing to fire, pinning officers behind their squad cars. He intended to flank the sheriff's deputy who had first stopped, because they asked him that. Realizing this, several officers repositioned themselves and focused their gunfire on Farouk. One police officer eventually shot Farouk in the right side, allowing other officers to flank and shoot at him. Farouk fell to the ground, shot several times in the legs and upper body. He fired at the police with a handgun as he lay wounded on the ground, injuring an officer before the gun malfunctioned. Farouk was shot again several times and killed. His body was handcuffed and positioned to lie face down afterward.
While he's dead?
Yeah. That makes sense, right?
No. The fact that he was shot a bunch of times in the legs from the side is strange.
Shot in the legs and upper body.
Well,
And was still functioning.
yeah.
And got a shot off before, of course, his gun malfunctioned.
And then they felt the need to handcuff him.
No. Then they shot him a bunch more times.
Right.
Then they handcuffed him behind his back and placed him face down on the ground. That is the most unbelievable thing in this unbelievable story where they just did all this shit in 25 seconds. That one piece is even more unbelievable.
Right.
A clearly dead body riddled with multiple bullets. Somebody's going to run up and handcuff him and put him face down just in case he comes back. He gets that Holy Ghost. Officers then fired on the SUV as Malik continued to shoot at them. Oh, so they did this before they even got the second shooter. They handcuffed him.
Really?
Yep. Because officers then fired on the SUV as Malik continued to shoot at them. During this exchange of gunfire, a second police officer was wounded. Using a police cruiser as cover, officers fired into the back of the SUV while rescuing the wounded officer and a second one. At 3:53 p.m., an hour later? Are we talking about... Oh, no. We're talking 5 minutes later. Sorry, 5 minutes later. 5 minutes later, Malik was killed by several bullets that struck her in the body and head. The gunfire lasted for around 5 minutes before both perpetrators were killed. Police used Bearcat armored personnel carriers in confronting the shooters. Because authorities feared that the vehicle could contain explosives, the Rock, a motorized battering ram with a protective shield, was used to investigate the SUV. The sheriff department confirmed that a man and a woman were killed. 7 police agencies were involved in the final shootout, with 23 officers firing a combined total of at least 440 rounds. What about all the houses and shit all around? Are we saying all of those bullets struck their targets? Not 1 or 2 bullets sailed wide and maybe hit houses and shit? Oh. Yeah, that's the answer. The perpetrators fired at least 81 rounds, not 80. The police fired a combined total of at least 440 rounds, and the perpetrators fired at least 81 rounds. Who does this? If it's at least, then it's at least 80, not 81. 80, 85, 90. That's what the at least is in those situations. The sheriff department confirmed that... During the shootout, police asked residents to stay indoors. So they all did. No one filmed any of it. And are they going to tell us how they got the police helicopter, or the news helicopters not to show the footage? The police giving chase obviously couldn't resist the donut and coffee shop. Nearly 2,500 rounds of .223 caliber and 9mm ammunition were recovered from the vehicle. How much does 2,500 pounds of ammunition weigh? Along with medical supplies, 2,500 rounds of ammunition.
You said pounds.
Sorry. Along with medical supplies and a trigger apparatus believed to be for the explosives left behind at the Inland Regional Center. But we don't know that for sure. Farouk was struck 25 times and Malik was struck 15 times.
It could happen.
He was struck 25 times and they handcuffed him. They're not talking about how she was handcuffed in the back of the vehicle too.
No.
She was found handcuffed. Yes, it being spoken to. Ange doesn't hate to be spoken to on the toilet. She's always trying to involve people in her shit. And the thing is, I've told you guys this before. We have to call the city. We have to let them know every time so they can prepare the pipes.
You're such an idiot.
I'm not. What do you... You think I could say that with a straight face if it wasn't true?
Yes. Yes, because I know you.
No, seriously. I have to call the city.
Seriously.
I have to tell them it's a code brown,
Brown.
and they know exactly what I mean. And yeah, it's crazy. They have to like they whenever we move somewhere, they have to they have to like dig into the plumbing. That's why we don't move, because it's expensive. They have to dig into the ground and get into the plumbing, and they have to do a specific like they have to run a specific pipe that when the code brown is issued, the pipe switches over to this specific pipe. It's like just like a train, like when you switch trains on the train track and it just change. It does that, but it's only used for her, and it takes it to a special recycling plant where I think they have like 150 workers, and they have to do what they can to decontaminate and recycle the waste. And
No, ladies. He's all mine. All mine.
and then
I know you want him.
it's actually, the funny thing is it's turned into white phosphorus, and it's used against the Palestinians. That's sad.
Such an idiot.
How do you feel knowing that your poop is used against the Palestinians?
Oh my God.
Never more than 10 people watching always. You are right. Now, for some totally logical reason. Okay, so here's the names of the victims: Robert Adams, Isaac Almenios, Benita Bedabal, Harry Bowman. Oh, a Harry Bowman. Sierra Claiborne, Juan Espinoza, Aurora Goodroy, Shannon Johnson, Larry Daniel Kaufman. We have one. Damian Mines, Tin Ngin, Nicholas Thianalos, Yvette Velsicchio, and Michael Wetzel. That might be a second one. Huh, amazing. In the Inland Regional Civilian Center attack, 14 civilians were killed. They ranged in ages from 26 to 60. 9 were residents of San Bernardino County, fined from nearby Riverside, Los Angeles, and Orange counties. 3, Isaac Amino, Armanios, Benita Bedabal, and Tin Ngin, were refugees from Eritrea, Iran, and Vietnam, respectively. There were refugees at this party? 13 were county employees. 10 were environmental health inspectors, comprising of about 1/4 of that department's workforce. According to autopsy reports released on May 27th, all died from multiple gunshot wounds, mostly to their backs. 12 died almost immediately. Shannon Johnson and Benita Benethadal later died at a makeshift triage center across the street from the Inland Regional Center.
Hey, how do you need? Nope. I could at least nothing. But I'll walk you through the processing as part of that's all.
Injured, the attack injured 22 civilians, some seriously. Several were hospitalized about 15 minutes after leaving the building. None of which have come out, said anything, by the way. 5 went to nearby Loma Linda University Medical Center, and 6 to Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. The last discharge was from Loma Linda on March 3rd, 2016. 1 police officer was shot during the gunfight, and 1 was injured by flying glass or shrapnel. Both were struck in the thigh. 1 realized he was hit 13 hours later. Come on, guys. You didn't bring the toilet paper. Nope.
I forgot. I knew I was forgetting something. Because I wasn't actually in the...
After the attack, police identified married couple Syed Rizwad Farouk and Tashfeen Malik as the perpetrators. They used 2 illegally transferred 223 caliber semi-automatic rifles which had been modified to defeat California's magazine release requirements. 2 9mm caliber semi-automatic pistols, and an improvised explosive device in the attack. Neither shooter had a criminal record, and neither was on a terrorist screening database list. So basically, like, the one time that something like this actually happens, your shit was useless.
Yes.
You didn't prevent it. The only time they ever prevent anything is when it come to find out they've been fucking sponsoring it the whole way.
Correct.
They let it get all the way to here, and then they busted it. Like, look what we did. We spent millions and millions of dollars doing this, too. We could have busted these guys a long time ago, but no, look, we got it here.
Correct.
The New York Times reported that, by all accounts so far, the government had no concrete intelligence warning of the assault. Although the federal government has long feared homegrown self-radicalized individuals operating undetected before striking one of many soft targets in the United States. On December 3rd, 2015, the FBI took over as the leading federal law enforcement agency on the case, treating the probe as a counterterrorism investigation and meaning literally nothing, none of the rules apply. Once the FBI is involved, and that's what we learn from watching our show every day, right? My wife loves watching these dumb fucking, blue propaganda bullshit shows, and what you see constantly, like literally every 5 episodes or so, maybe less, that some sort of trial, some sort of something will happen, and it'll involve somebody bigger than just some black guy. And when that happens, suddenly the fucking FBI steps in. And Danny's like, my goddamn it, the FBI coming in, stealing my damn case. Know who my daddy is. Meh. And the chick that he's always partners with is like, oh, Danny, come on, you gotta calm down. Danny's like, no, oh.
You're such an idiot.
Or brilliant. One of the two. No, that's my case. No. Sitting here hanging tough. Fucking doing my job. FBI comes in. I'm all like, please don't go, girl. And they still fucking take him anyway. God damn it. Every time. And it's in every story, like every show. You instead of the angry Danny, on criminal or on SUV, whatever, Special Victims Unit, you get Mariska, and she's always like,
my pussy hurts. That's what she says.
Makes the faces, and then it just goes to commercial. Somebody will say something crazy, and she'll be like, and then it goes to commercial, and it comes back, and it's a completely different scene, and it's like, well, what the hell just happened? What was her response to that thing that was just said? How did they awkwardly end that conversation after that thing was said?
Awkwardly, clearly, duh.
And then you have Criminal
I
Minds,
don't know how it works.
where you have the two MacGuffins. You have the boy genius, who knows everything about everything, and what he can't know, well, Penelope knows it because she has her magical computer that she can just get anything she wants.
She's a pro hacker.
Literally, the only two that actually matter in that show are those two. The other ones just make goofy faces.
Fair.
And Morgan's there to do the chasing because Morgan's always chasing people. And then we have to believe that the females are super tough and that these mega badass killers can never beat up the girl. Or if they can literally beat the shit out of her. And then as soon as he's not paying full attention, she takes a med pack and she's like, I can still fight my way out of this. Face is all busted again. It's fucking stupid. Shows are the worst. But they always confirm. They reconfirm all this shit so you know everything is okay. Right?
Yes.
And we are when we hear about the idea that the FBI takes over, we all sort of understand that, oh well, there goes any information. Because we've seen it. They tell us that all the time. As soon as the FBI takes over, might move on to the next case. Shit's gone.
Yeah, you won't see the end.
Your Honor, the FBI, like, it's always like, and how do you plead? I plead guilty. Okay, well, with the power invested in me as the judge of this county, who is just stalling for dramatic effect and trying to come up with the craziest shit I can come up with before somebody might just happen to come in and stop me from saying this thing as my gavel is coming out. Your Honor, Arthur Weinstein with the FBI. We are taking over this case, and this person has to come with us. They are involved in something much bigger than this. And Mariska's like,
fine.
and Carisi's like, oh man, did you know about this? Did you know about this? And then the Puerto Rican chick's like, yes, I know. I am the DA, but they didn't tell me. It's just stupid.
No, Carisi's the DA.
No, Carisi is the assistant DA.
Oh yeah, he's the assistant.
He answers to the Puerto Rican chick.
Yes, he does.
This is not doing this now. I mean, this is Ion. Any time of the day you want to see what I just talked about, Ion. There's an episode where that's happening. There's an episode. And then we're let's look at their family lives so we can see they're just normal people on the inside. They're just normal people who don't have to worry about getting pulled over, don't have to worry about getting harassed, don't have to worry about being held accountable. But they're just normal people who live normal lives.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. I mean, it's so stupid because you see it like the one thing these shows do, especially this show and especially Danny, they just normalize police brutality. Oh, and Chicago PD. Chicago PD, they literally have like a jail, underneath the jail, a little cage where they take people and beat the shit out of them over and over again. And not a single person has been like, I'm suing you? Are you fucking kidding me? Hey, go look in the basement. It's a cage. Yeah, they beat people's ass all the time in there. I mean, it's just stupid as shit. And you just you think every time they do that, aren't they basically letting that person off?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Used to love me some Spencer and Penelope.
If they allow, if they could be just taking their chances that person's not going to get a good enough attorney to do anything about it.
I mean, if it's in this day and age, you can find the pro bono. The cops beat me up underneath the jail in a special cage area. Yeah, you're going to get that lawyer. No problem. We got this one. That's a slam dunk. There is no anything that justifies that. Nothing. It doesn't work that way.
I'm not saying nothing justifies it.
I know. So any lawyer is going to jump on that easy money.
Good enough attorney.
Easy money. Easy money. The fucking the show probably. The show used to be it's one of those shows. It's like House, right? How many times can I watch the same episode of House? I remember thinking House was really good the first season. Maybe we even watched the second season. I don't know. But it was by the second season where I'm like, okay, what time is it? 8:58 or 8:48. Uh-oh. House is about to fall down and hit his head. And then look up and see some tweet birdies and think, oh, bird flu, tiny thermometers with mercury. Mercury rising. I don't know where I'm going with it, but you know, he gets his fucking answer from some goofy How many times can you watch that? That's not even like, it's not even like brilliance. Like even with Spencer, it's not brilliance. He has a fucking trick up his sleeve. It's like he's retarded in reverse, you know? He just happens to be like, it's not like you could train to be that. It's not like anybody could just be that. No, he just happens to be the supercomputer that can read, you know, a page by looking at it. Like they just, anytime they need him to do anything except physical stuff, he can do it. He's like Professor X, but he can walk. And he perpetually makes his hair look dumber and dumber. You remember him from the first series? The first fucking season? He came in literally with like a white t-shirt on. His hair was gelled down on both sides. He had glasses on. He had a pocket protector. By the end of it, he's wearing his like 4-piece suits and like he's got his hair all crazy mental guy. It's fucking stupid. The show is so stupid. And I love how in those shows, the best part is the bad guys. The bad guys that are like, okay, so I'm going to set up this lamp so that if somebody, well, when they happen to find it at this exact time, they'll bump into this other person who will trip over. You know, it's like Seven. Seven is a great movie and all, but it's goddamn impossible.
You're just staying here.
It's fucking stupid. There's no way, you know, the woman's looking through the pictures and goes, oh, hey, that painting is upside down.
She might.
No, it wasn't a house on the prairie painting. It was some goofy ass painting. And even if that did happen, that would have happened like way down the road. But he just happened to do that and happened to make it, so they find him and they happen to do this and they happen, you know, it's all just stupid.
Sounds like happenstance.
It is. It's a lot. And all of those movies are like that. Or all those shows, all those everything, that's how it always works. Especially Criminal Minds. Criminal Minds, like, you know, the killer will have like who was the one guy who with the face and he talked like this and he, you know, and he's the one that killed the one broad, the decent looking one, whatever her name was, but she didn't, you didn't play by the rules, and he killed her. But like that guy, you know, the Fisher King guy who thought like his, you know, his fucking castle burnt. It was so much just. It's always like that. They're always going up against these like criminal fucking masterminds.
That's what their job is.
Right.
That's what their unit is.
These criminal. You've never heard about these guys. These guys don't exist in real life.
Yeah,
Just like how NCIS, just about every single episode of NCIS, there's some sort of shootout and explosion that happens in downtown LA.
It could happen.
It could. It never does. I love how people complain about me showing up in their shit and then being like, why? This guy's video shows up on my feed and I have to watch it. It's the only thing that I can watch. Like, we don't know how YouTube works. Like, you couldn't totally just skip over my video if you wanted to. But no, you have to get some attention. So you got it. Good for you.
Is all I heard.
Right. Look at the pillow fell on him. He was like, what the fuck?
I like that. I don't like that. It's scary.
And this is just crazy. So anyway, let's go back to this. So the FBI is taken over, which means literally, I mean, it's just so we just went off on this whole little piece about, but it's literally the end of the road. The whole story, the idea that there's any accountability for the information that we're given is completely ended. And whatever the FBI decides they want to tell us or show us, that's it.
What do you want?
So I don't have to see this pile of shit anymore. I have to click on his videos. Somebody tell me I'm not smart enough to figure out YouTube. How do I stop a video? Come on, please tell me, somebody. I love it. You're so cute. The FBI conducted a massive investigation, and by December 7th, 2015, had already conducted about 400 interviews and collected 320 pieces of evidence. So, the 400 interviews, is that going to be like where we get a bunch of summaries? Because the actual interviews, those don't exist. Just like, what was it? What was the thing we were looking at yesterday?
Flight.
Oh yeah, the TWA Flight 800, where all of the interviews were summaries of the interviews that talked about a missile, and the NTSB, who was investigating it, fought for 2 years to get the restrictions and the names of the people that were interviewed so they could do their own interviews. And then once they finally won, which is only 21 months later, not 2 years, they decided it had been too long. They were just going to go with the FBI summaries and not re-interview people, even the people who wanted to be interviewed again. Don't watch much mainstream TV, but I do remember first series, both series. You're right. Eidetically, memory doesn't make you clever. No, it doesn't. It just means you just have an advantage. It's a fucking advantage, I guess. Then again, you can remember all the bad shit too. On January 5th, 2016, the FBI began So wait. Conducted 400 interviews and collected 20 pieces of evidence. How much of that 320 pieces of evidence do you think were videos? Were people's cell phones? Were all of the video footage that for some reason doesn't exist. They told people to stay in the house, so everybody just stayed in the house and nobody filmed anything. Totally makes sense. January 15th, the FBI began investigating what the perpetrators' activities were during the 18-minute period from 12:59 to 1:17 on the day of the shooting. Wait, what? Okay, so we're good with everything. We know what they did between 11 a.m. and 12:59 p.m. But then there's that window from 12:59 to 1:17 where we just don't know. Because after 1:17, we know what the fuck is going on.
Break. Lunch. Duh.
They appealed to the public for assistance. Investigators believe that the two were driving around the city in an apparent attempt to remotely detonate the explosive device they had left behind at the scene of the attack. And in a city where all of the cops and agents and everyone was there for some strange reason, the SWAT, everything. These guys are driving around in the area and nobody finds them. And there's again, wasn't there a surveillance plane way up overhead that could have seen all of this? The investigation found that the perpetrators were inspired by Islamic terrorists and Islamic terrorist organizations. In Senate Judiciary Committee testimony given on December 9th, 2015, FBI Director James B. Comey said that they were talking to each other about jihad and martyrdom before their engagement as early as the end of 2013. They reportedly spent the last year preparing for the attack, including taking target practice and making plans to take care for their child and Farouk's mother. You mean while she was like pregnant, then had the kid, because the kid was 6 months old. So during the last half of her pregnancy, instead of being a stereotypical woman, she was practicing for her jihad. Popped out a baby, and instead of enjoying their baby and stuff, they just decided to do this. And nobody knew. They weren't on any lists. Nobody had called in about them, nothing. Comey has said that although the investigation has shown that the couple was radicalized and possibly inspired by foreign terrorist organizations, there is no indication that they were directed by such a group or part of a broader cell or network. Just individual crazies. Just some individual crazies. On December 16, 2015, Comey said, "We can see from our investigation that in late 2013, before there is a physical meeting of these two people, Farouk and Malik, resulting in their engagement and then journey to the United States, they are just communicating online, showing signs in that communication of their joint commitment to jihadism and to martyrdom." Wow, that fucking hurts all of a sudden. It's really weird. Those communications are direct, private messages. Comey said that the FBI's investigation revealed that the perpetrators were consuming poison on the internet, and both had become radicalized before they started courting and dating each other online and before the emergence of ISIL. As a result, Comey said that untangling the motivations of which particular terrorist propaganda motivated in what way remains a challenge in these investigations, and our work is ongoing there. In one Arabic online radio broadcast, ISIL described the perpetrators as supporters. ISIL did? We don't hear about ISIL very much anymore. Isn't that interesting how ISIL sort of dropped off? Now watch, in the next few days, we're going to hear about an ISIL attack or something. Watch. That seems to be how this works. Let's see. Searches. After the deaths of the perpetrators, the focus shifted to a small town in Redlands, a few miles away from San Bernardino, the place where Farouk and Malik met after the shooting and where they lived. By 6 p.m. on December 2nd, 2015, police were executing a search warrant on the house. According to the San Bernardino police chief, Farouk and Malik were listed in the rental agreement. Police used robots to search the house. That's an interesting statement. Investigators found 2,000 9mm handgun rounds, 2,500 .223 caliber rounds, and the tools that could be used to make improvised explosive devices. The exact same thing they found in the SUV.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
It's not just incredible, it's extremely damning. You know, it definitely shows you their exact intentions. Literally, they like took half. Took half and left half, just in case. The FBI also initially reported that it had removed 12 pipe bombs from the perpetrators' homes. The FBI clarified several days later that it recovered 19 types of pipes that could be converted into pipe bombs from the home. Come on. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, the ATF, well, shouldn't they be the ATFE at this point? They're the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. ATFAE, Atifa, Atife, was able to complete an urgent trace on the firearms less than 2 hours after the guns were recovered. Wow. How come they can't do that more often? It's funny how you're hearing about this stuff that you don't hear about so much anymore. I don't remember the last time I heard about the Department of Homeland Security launching a plane, surveillance plane to fly around. Do you remember hearing about that? It was kind of weird. The couple was not completely successful in destroying their personal electronics, including mobile phones and hard drives, prior to the attack. Pursuant to the federal search warrant, the authorities also searched a townhouse in Corona twice, where Farouk's brother and father lived. The FBI said that the family was cooperating, and authorities did not arrest anyone. That twice? They searched the house twice before they searched Farouk's house? And if they knew it was Farouk, why didn't they just go to the house and get them when they supposedly went back to their house? On December 10th, 2015, federal authorities began searching Sukhum Lake Park in downtown San Bernardino after receiving a tip that the shooters visited the area on the day of the attack. A dive team was sent into the shallow edge of the lake to search for evidence. Nothing relevant was found. So why the fuck is it in the story? How many other random nothing tips?
If they give you more details.
How many nothing random tips did the police get that aren't fucking in this story? Why would that thing be in the story other than what Ann just said? The details. To make you think there's more evidence than there is. After the FBI completed a search of the perpetrator's townhouse, it was turned over to its landlord. On December 4th, 2015, the landlord used a crowbar to open the door to the home and allowed reporters and photographers to swarm the home. Are we to believe this took place on December 2nd? That the FBI and all relative searches were it was all conducted and completed within the first, like, isn't something like that normally like a week-long crime scene and searching every nook and cranny?
No, they've already proven that if it's somebody that they want to get to the bottom of fast, they can.
Yeah, but you still want to search. NBC News correspondent Kerry Sanders said that Inside Edition paid the building's landlord $1,000 to access the home. Isn't that illegal? MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News all broadcast live video from the home showing images of personal photographs, documents, identification cards, and baby items, none of which the FBI thought to confiscate.
No.
They just left their IDs and social security cards and all that. That wasn't evidence.
No.
How isn't that evidence? I do. And I'd love to know the stupid answer for that one. Pigeons? Is it the pigeons? It's the pigeons. The scene was described as having a media circus atmosphere. Sanders, in particular, was criticized for showing up-close images of children's photographs and Farouk's mother's identification card. What are we talking about?
I didn't even hear it. You kidding me. I love you. I'm sorry.
Okay. The scene was described as having a media circus atmosphere. Sanders, in particular, was criticized for showing up-close images of children's photographs and Farouk's mother's identification card. Why was their mother's identification card sitting out on the counter, not confiscated by the FBI, left so the reporters could just happen to see it?
I mean,
And then the reporters are like, "Oops," and the network later said they regretted doing so. So
we're sorry.
that's it. Yeah. Okay. According to legal experts, the broadcast was not illegal, but it raises concerns about journalistic ethics. It's not illegal for news outlets to show your personal identification information,
No.
i.e., driver's license, social security, whatever.
Now your shit's everywhere. Now it doesn't matter. That argument just needs to go away.
Yeah, but
Musk and all of his little kids have all of
yeah, but
your
no, but
information,
that
so it's
but yeah, whatever. That part. But how is this not illegal? The Washington Post media critic Eric Wemple wrote that the media's behavior was terrible, and opened that this was a story poorly suited to live coverage, without the time and ability to document a scene, determine what's relevant, and provide a filtered product to readers. You think we didn't get a filtered product? Like, that nobody's saying, how come this place wasn't like completely locked down so they could do a complete forensic, investigation. Why would IDs and shit be left out? I mean, this is just dumb. This is insultingly stupid, and I don't understand why you guys would believe any of it. Al Tompkins of the Poitner Institute for Media Studies said that the decision to enter the apartment was ludicrous and critiqued the callous and competitive behavior of the media on a grave story. Phone decryption. Possibility of a third shooter. Initial news reports and witness accounts following the attack led to a search for up to 3 shooters, but police eventually determined that there were only 2, since only 2 firearms were used in the attack according to ballistics evidence. So they had 2 guns each on them. And you have to remember this timeline. The shooting took place within 2 minutes. How do people mistaken 2 shooters for 3 shooters? Immediately following the shootout that killed the perpetrators, investigators in armored vehicles at the perpetrator's townhouse considered ordering an evacuation, but instead ordered the neighborhood to shelter in place and cordoned off the area, so everyone became prisoners. From 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m., police asked residents of the area to stay in their homes with doors locked and secure after residents reported a person jumping fences. No one was found. The reports may have been from officers on the scene. A person detained after running away from the scene of the shootout was thought to be a possible third suspect, but police determined that he was not connected to the shooting. The person was booked on an unrelated outstanding misdemeanor warrant. And that's it. We don't know who that is. On February 18, 2016, the FBI revealed they have not ruled out the possibility of a third shooter, but clarified that they are continuing to operate under the assumption that only 2 shooters were involved. Some witnesses who claim to have seen 3 gunmen in the Inland Regional Center continued to assert their accounts. As of December 1st, 2016, it was reported that the FBI had yet to rule out the possibility. Lawsuits. Survivors On the 1-year anniversary of the attack, it was reported that a number of the survivors were accusing San Bernardino County of cutting off support for them. This included a lack of access to counseling or antidepressant medication, the injured attempting to get surgeries approved and physical therapy covered, a lack of assistance in dealing with a complex workers' compensation program, and health insurers refusing to cover injuries because they occurred during an act of workplace violence. A county spokesman denied the accusations and said the county is, and always has been, committed to ensuring our employees get all the care they need. So they were just lying.
Yes.
It's just strange.
A white male, 5'11", got into the parking garage saying he got a call to jumpstart someone's car, and he came up in the elevator.
Controversies. All right, let's read this. In response to the shooting, then candidate Donald Trump called for a total and complete ban on Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what's going on.
What does that mean exactly?
Muslims cannot come in. But see, if I say we need to let the Jays go to fucking Israel and live, then I'm a bad guy.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that interesting? These were homegrown people. This is not a foreign thing. And yet this is how this works, and this guy is the president. Trump's statements drew widespread condemnation, including from the White House, the Pentagon, the United Nations, and foreign leaders such as British Prime Minister David Cameron and French Prime Minister Emmanuel Valls. Hey, how come nobody decided to bring this up during the last fucking election? How come nobody wanted anybody to remember this? Trump's suggestion was met with condemnation from both Democratic and Republican candidates for the presidency in 2016. Trump, in an interview on Good Morning America, cited the internment of Japanese Americans, German Americans, and Italian Americans during World War II as a precedent for this proposal. Because that was received so well. And it had such successful, like, it was like, look, we did that, so we ended up weeding out a bunch of... nothing good came from that. It's not like they found a bunch of terrorists or something like that. They just enslaved a bunch of fucking good people. They put them in concentration camps. The exact same thing. The attacks reignited a debate over whether the U.S. government should expand electronic surveillance of Americans, and specifically whether Congress should adapt legislation mandating that technology companies provide a backdoor so that law enforcement has access to encrypted communication. You mean like the Pegasus software that Israel provided everyone? That also gives Israel a backdoor into all that same stuff?
See, now that's the stuff you're not supposed to talk about.
Technology companies oppose such legislation, arguing that it would unacceptably undermine security. At a December 9th, 2019 hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee, FBI Director Comey called upon tech companies offering end-to-end encryption. Hey, how did Comey fare in the history of things? Did he do well? Did he end up in jail? To revise their business model. There is no evidence that the shooters in San Bernardino used encrypted communications, although Comey said the attackers in the Curtis Colwell Center attack earlier the same year exchanged encrypted text messages. Senators Richard Burr, Dick Burr, and Dianne Feinstein, the chairman and ranking member, respectively, of the Senate Intelligence Committee, are working on encryption legislation. What do you think they're doing? You think they're sitting around like, how do we write this? Well, what do we do? Well, what do you think they do in those couple of weeks where they actually supposedly work before recess? Additionally, Feinstein reduced legislation that would require tech companies to report knowledge of any terrorist activity they become aware of, a measure that worried Silicon Valley technology companies, which object to such measures on privacy grounds. The use of Bearcat armored vehicles by police during the shootout revived debate over the use of military and military-style equipment by police, with some law enforcement officials saying that the shooting showed a need for police to acquire such equipment. Really? And that's that.
That's that.
That is some scary, scary shit, you guys. Nothing about that seems real. Nothing about that is believable. Nothing about that is acceptable. Why do you guys think that's the only thing that falls into that category? I don't know. I'm done. Go get your free stuff. Go watch the Hollywoodism, because Hollywoodism will explain all of this. Hollywoodism. It's Hollywoodism. That's all it is. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's Hollywoodism. So go watch Hollywoodism if you want the explanation for the how and the why. And have a good day. Pedophiles, kill yourself.